Alright, this is inspired by a video that Udtorn did a while back, where he ranked all of the Cheap Life sessions from his perspective. I've wanted to do this for a while, but I've simply been procrastinating, and that ends today. This is just a side project, don't worry, main channel content is still underway, and it has been underway for 2 months now. But yeah, let's hop right in. Alright, starting off with Generic Life Season 1, Session 1. The session that started it all. I hold this session in high regard because I met so many new people, and I got to team with Raven, and Raven is very fun to team with. Brief rundown, at the start of the session, I teamed with Raven and a player named Best. Frankly, we spent the first 2 hours of the session mining and building a base. I mean, it was enjoyable, but it wasn't like as good as if we were out interacting. So the first 2 hours set it pretty low, but thankfully we voted on an hour extension, and I spent the last half hour of the session running around having fun. I had this bit where I was rage baiting Kat and Zach, and then obviously the boomer bungee jumping bit happened, which is one of the funniest moments in any season. So between all of that, I would rank it as a B tier session. Not exceptional, but it has a place in my heart. Session 2 is definitely a lower ranked session because right off the bat, my teammate Best final died. They drowned, which was kind of funny but also really unfortunate. And then a little while later, Raven had to leave. So within the first 20 minutes of the session, I had no teammates. And I spent the next hour and a half doing literally nothing. I think I stalked Mauve's team and literally nothing ever came of that. But then in the last 20 minutes, Mauve tried to trap me and it failed because of some deluxe art BS. I was strafing when I entered my house, just off instinct, and I got lucky because that's exactly how the trap was survivable. And then Mauve Enchanted and Yas led me to their base so that we could talk about how the session went and see if anything needed to change, and they murked me. And then I came back and I had this really cool speech where I was basically saying that their team was going to die in the coming sessions. So that was fire. That kind of sparked the entire story. It just sucks that it was not a great session other than that. Unfortunately, only one really good moment doesn't make up for the rest of the session being bland. Session 3 is a weird one because most of the session was spent in isolation. It was interesting because off the bat I rolled Boogie, but 90% of the cast was going mining, and the problem is that they grinded for most of the session, and I didn't have anyone to kill because the only people I could find were Raven, my teammate, and Mauve, a red name at the time. But thankfully, Mauve actually betrayed her team and actually sold them out to me. She told them to come back to base where I was waiting with a cart, which I dropped and accidentally collateral final killed a red name. As if it couldn't get any more chaotic than that. I still was Boogie and had to get my cure, so I came down and jumped Enchanted, and we had the closest fight in the entire season. And then as if it couldn't get any more chaotic than that, now that Enchanted had died for the first time, Raven was the last green, and so Mauve, Enchanted, Yus, and Dev all came on a manhunt looking for Raven. We spent 10 minutes getting chased around trying to 2v3, and eventually we got away and session end was called. So that was a very fun session. Top of B, probably. Session 4. I rolled Boogie again, but this time I didn't want to push the timer. I didn't want to risk Boogie fail, so I kind of just killed Kat, and I did it kind of poorly. I missed every single axe crit, and it was just not clean whatsoever. And then after that, no one could really do anything because Kat was red, but she wasn't good enough to take me or Raven in a 1v1 easily. So we ran around for the next hour and a half while we were just running around waiting for someone to die. Someone did die. Mauve accidentally final died in a trap I made in session 2, and it was really sad and unfortunate because I thought I told Mauve about the trap so that they wouldn't die to it, but clearly I hadn't. And then someone hit freaking Raven with a weakness pot, and then Kat jumped and killed them. So session had a decent ending, but it was otherwise not insanely fun. I'm gonna throw it into C tier. Season 1 is probably my favorite season, and you really wouldn't think that looking at the tier list so far. But all of that is about to change because finale just straight up goes in S tier because it managed to wrap up everything. In my opinion. At least everything from my POV got wrapped up perfectly. There couldn't have been a better ending to me teaming with Raven and that whole arc. then there also couldn't have been a better ending to the rivalry with Yus's team arc from Session 2. And there also was a halfway decent ending to the Session 4 arc where I kind of attacked Kat's team and started a war with them. A brief rundown. At the start of the session, I was still yellow, and I intentionally went red. Only 2 other people were red, and neither of them were aggressive. Yus was lagging, and Kat was trying to Skynet. So I went red, and then Boogie was rolled, and they revealed themselves to be Polar. And they attacked Enchanted, who the previous session I had decided to align with in honor of Mauve's death. And so I saved Enchanted and killed Polar. Then Kat killed Enchanted anyway. But since Kat killed Enchanted, Yus joined our side because Yus didn't like Kat anymore. And he did that by final killing Kat. So now we have this 4-player team, me, Raven, Enchanted, and Yus, and it's top 7. But then the true fun begins because I kind of just went on a rampage. Before the final fight, I final killed Polar. We all jumped them because they were Kat's teammate. But then after that, after everyone was red, it was like top 6. The final fight was probably the single most like appealing ending to a series I've ever had. It was visually pretty fun, and I might be slightly biased because I kind of went on a rampage, but it was a great end to so many of my storylines. Right off the bat, we kind of had like a face-off where it was just kind of bow spam. Eventually, because of the bow spam and because of the dynamic of it, Enchanted and Yus picked off Mario. But after that, it was top 5. Me, Enchanted, Raven, Fork, and Yus. And me and Raven chased down Enchanted and Yus and jumped them, not in a 2v2, but in a 1v1 and a 1v1. I like yelled, "Let's dance!" or something at Yus, and then dropped him. And because the server was an Australian server, and most of the players were American, Raven was getting hit from like 7 blocks away at times, and so Raven, objectively the best PvPer on the server, was just getting like annihilated by Enchanted, someone who at the time wasn't very good at the game. So I like aggro pearled in to try to get Enchanted off Raven, but then I lagged out, so Enchanted continued attacking Raven, and then I came back and we just like wombo comboed him and final killed him. And then it was top 3. It was me, Raven, and Fork, and obviously me and Raven aren't gonna split yet, so we had this like 3-minute fight with Fork, where, cause he's from New Zealand, he's really close to Australia, he had good ping, and he's also really good at the game. He rivaled Raven probably at the time, and then I was slightly worse than the 2 of them. We were just like fighting him, and it was like Cap and Bucky versus Iron Man in Civil War, and it was sick. It was just this tag team where Fork just kept hitting us back, and it was like one of the most fun fights. Even on a rewatch, even knowing now that I was way worse during session, it's so much fun to watch back. And it was top 2, me and Raven, day 1 teammates. Unfortunately, because it was American on an Australian server, Raven's getting hit from 7 blocks away was at an all-time high, so the fight wasn't very long. And also, Raven wanted me to win, so they were not playing to their very best capabilities, and so yeah, Raven unfortunately lost pretty quickly. It was still fire! I went and final died right where I final killed Boomer session 1, just as kind of like a full circle moment for that. And it was sick. Crisis Life session 1 had a problem where we started really late and the owner couldn't go past the ending time, so we only had an hour for session 1. On top of that, nothing insane happened for a really long time. In session 1, I teamed with Mauve and Enchanted, which is a grand team. I love that team. And then at the end of the session, because we'd been such good teammates the last season, I wanted to have a rivalry with Raven as a contrast, so I challenged them to a 1v1 at the end of the session, and I lost. But it was really cool. It was maybe shorter than it should have been, and I maybe kind of got killed because I think a skeleton shot me while we were fighting, which set my health just low enough to get one-tapped. We have a whole bit about it. Every time there's a mob that like joins in on a fight, or even sometimes players, we just yell, "It's a paid actor!" Because when we were fighting and I got hit by the mob, Enchanted yelled, "Oh, look, it's a paid actor!" And it was really funny.
We have a dead body.
The skeleton's a paid actor!
The skeleton's a paid actor!
So yeah, I hold those 2 moments in high regard, but the rest of the session wasn't great, so it's unfortunately gonna go in bottom of D tier. I missed session 2, which, to be fair, I didn't miss much. Session 2 was really just my teammates having a story arc, and Session 3 is actually a continuation of that. My problem with Session 3, first off, my entire goal is to have a story with Raven, and this season's really short. and Raven missed session 3, and I missed session 2. So we can only have a story arc in sessions 1 and 4. So I didn't do anything. I did do things that were crazy in session 3, but they didn't have anything to do with my story, which kind of put a dampener on it. Instead, Enchanted and Mauve had a rivalry with Zilly's team, which was like 3 people. And so I just kind of helped them with that because I was one of the best players on the server. And so I killed like Zilly and then Light twice, just so that their stories could be wrapped up because I was taking session 4 for myself. So it does have a dampener on it for that, but I still had fun. It was a fun session. I liked being crazy and killing people. So yeah, top of C for that one. Session 4, me and Raven fought a lot right off the bat. I won every single early fight we had. I even rolled Boogie at one point and killed Raven. But after that, Raven was on like 4 lives at the start of the session, and I kind of sent them to 1. But then everyone else started turning red because Raven was red and they were the best player on the server, except for Fork, but we'll get into that later. Me and Enchanted were the last 2 yellows, and we decided we wanted to have this big server V2 last stand. And it was sick. We had a lot of really cool moments on it. I had this really cool like escape clip where I got lucky in a ravine to find someone's mining hole and I escaped Raven on like half a heart. But unfortunately Enchanted wasn't so lucky, and when he came back he hit this sick clip on Cat. Final killed her with a creeper spawn egg. But unfortunately her teammates didn't like that and I was yellow so I couldn't help. Raven and Fork just 2v2'd them and sent us to top 3 by killing both my teammates back to back, literally half a second apart. They eventually found me and killed me and sent me to red. And then I came back, and to finish out our story arc, I challenged Raven to a 1v1, which was accepted with Fork watching and counting us in. Raven won, and only got to 1 tap because of the lightning from my final death. It was a good little conclusion to my story, and then Raven and Fork had a really cool duel afterwards that Fork won, winning the series. So, Session 4, Crisis Life. A tier, not quite S because it wasn't as grand as I would have liked, but it's like low A tier or high B tier. Hidden Life. Hidden Life is weird because this season I had a twist where I was playing like Death Note, but not really. It was more like a Hitman style thing. Basically, I gave Valor a book and quill. We planned this before the series started by like a month. He would write down a name in the book and give it to me, and then I would kill them, which was really fun, and it's one of the top 3 videos on my channel right now. But it made for some really unfun sessions when we were planning or when we didn't have someone to kill. One of those sessions is session 1. I did this really cool lore bit with Val, and we had a lot of really funny bits with it because people kept interrupting us while we were doing it. All of the lore at the start of the video with me and Val having a like conversation about him getting the book happened in session, and Boomer and Raven kept pulling up on us by accident, and we kept like yelling at them to leave, and it was so funny. But other than that, literally all I did was grind for the next few sessions. So it's unfortunately like D tier. Session 2 of Hidden Life is a very different story. It's top of B tier. This session is half the video. At the start of it, Val gives me the book and it says Mauve, so I gotta kill Mauve. But before that, Val hosts a tea party, but this tea party is like 100 blocks in the sky. What Val did was he had people go around in a circle complimenting each other. And once it got to the Boogie, who was Raven, they were supposed to attack Mauve and try to knock them off. But when the time came, Mauve hit the clutch off the like 100 block tower. And then all hell broke loose, everyone punching everyone. And Zilly and Valor both ended up dying. A little while later, there was this funny clip where Val was trying to lead Mauve to me, and I was at Mauve's base. And I whispered that to Val, and Val didn't know where Mauve's base was. And since he was recording, he said to his audience, okay, but I don't know where Mauve's base is, while walking through Mauve's base. And I was hiding inside of like a tree, and I said, you're at it!
I don't even know where Mauve's base is.
You're at it.
Oh, sick!
Then he led Mauve there, I jumped them, I killed them mildly consensually. It was more so them giving up because they were like 1 tap and not gonna be able to get away. And then me and Val had another conversation with the book, and he gave me the name Raven. And this is where the session really gets good, because I went to kill Raven, but Raven's conventionally better than me. And so me and Raven had this like on and off 40-minute fight where we had to take multiple breaks to like re-get food or re-gear. And I'll admit, I had some aura loss moments. I screamed for my life a couple of times, but it worked out because by the end of it, I managed to get the best of Raven and kill her. It only mattered a little because they were on like 6 lives or something and I was on 1, but I was still sick and it was easily the best fight from my POV. So yeah, B tier. Session 3, F tier. Literally nothing happened. Session 4, better than 1-1, but worse than 1-3. It was pretty fun. It was like a worse version of Session 2. At the start of it, we told Yus about the Death Note, and he kind of fully joined Val's team, so now we had a third person in on it. And the whole session was us just running around goofing off. I had 2 names. I had Mario and I had Lightstick. And I killed Mario with a cart that almost backfired and it was really funny. And we were all like laughing and riffing on each other because Val like yelled at me when it didn't work. And I yelled at him when it did work.
Don't worry, I know. Guys, you suck! Oh my gosh!
You
Never mind. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Really suck, Val?
Never mind. No, you don't.
Really suck,
You're fine.
And Val also final killed a player in this session who was the first out, which was really funny, and he did it accidentally. But then a little later, actually not a little later, like the moment after we killed Mario, we ran up on Lightstick and I jumped him. Yus like walked away from our group when I did it, and then he came back and I was killing someone. He was like really confused and it was really funny. So that was something. But other than that, there's like nothing else happened. Session 5, top C tier. Nothing happened for the first hour, and then one of the funniest clips of the entire season happened.
Where's the trap?
It's just on the stairs. There's a pressure plate. Then there's 2 TNT cards locked onto it.
I'm dead.
This fucking dumbass.
Then I got a couple consents that I'm not really proud of, and then Val had to leave, unfortunately. But I still had a name in my book, and it was Mauve's, and I wanted to kill Mauve, but I didn't want to like make them upset about it. But then Mauve came to me and asked for a duel anyway, and so we had that, and it was fun. It wasn't close by any means. I don't think I got hit once, but it was a really clean clip. Session 6, I missed, and I'm glad I missed it because it was not good. And then finale goes above Session 1. It's the only finale that's left a bad taste in my mouth. It's the only finale I conventionally did not like. Nothing happened in the first half hour. Then we jumped Cat, and Cat had the saturation effect because they joined the session late, and when the session's not on, we give people saturation so they don't lose lives. But she missed the point where we cleared the effect. So we're just jumping her, and she's out healing us without healing. And it's really funny. It was a fun little moment. It was the highlight of finale for me. But then she came back, hopped on Skynet, and final killed a red name with a cart, trying to kill all of us, which was unfortunate. She immediately died to a creeper while we wanted to kill her for revenge. So that was the start of the lack of satisfaction. Then we had the final fight, which no one wanted to really fight because they were all afraid of getting quick dropped. And then when we did fight, we all got quick dropped. I fumbled on a god apple for my final death, which sucked. Boomer almost had a really cool clip. He final killed 3 people in a row, but then he lost in top 2, which was unfortunate. But Raven won, and I will not complain about Raven winning. Now on to What Life. What Life is interesting because I also had a twist this season, except it was that I had to have minimum 6 crossbows in my hotbar at all times, which basically turned my season, like my PvP part of my season, into an inventory management mess. Top that off, 3 out of 4 sessions I could hardly hit a crossbow shot because I was so tapped out. But that's not even the fun of it. Let's get into it. Session 1, I teamed with Lexi, which was weird because I had never spoken to Lexi before, but they turned out to be one of my favorite teammates that I've ever had. They played a very good support character, and all of the bits they did were funny. If it wasn't for Lexi, my video would have been half the length, and it would have just been fights. None of the funny moments would have been nearly as funny without her. My only gripe with Session 1 is that Lexi just kept getting killed by people or kept dying in unfair ways. I also got murked by a red name who had no armor, which left a really bad taste in my mouth because they then final killed themselves. But those are 2 down points in an otherwise fun session. Me and Yus decided that we wanted to have a season-long rivalry, similar to the one me and Raven had in Crisis Life. And we started that. We decided we were going to have a duel every single session. We started that in Session 1, but we decided on a spot to duel in, And when it came time for the duel, the plugin automatically has like a limited armor resource pack, and so it was hard to tell difference between boots and pants. And so Yus forgot his pants, and nobody realized until we were already fighting. So he went down really quickly. Overall, I would say it's B tier, above Season 1, Session 1, but below Hidden Life Session 4. Session 2. Session 2 is one of my favorite non-finale sessions I've ever played. I still had my dynamic with Lexi, my dynamic with Yus evolved, and also Enchanted and Raven both joined the server, and they're two very fun players for a story-based series. The only down point is that I got quick dropped by Raven at one point, which sucked, but Raven gave their life back because they realized that I needed the life for the duels with Yus. When I explained it to them with a crossbow. Otherwise, this session was mostly me and Lexi dicking around and having a great time. Until the end, which me and Yus decided to have another duel. But Yus decided he was going to play the trick on me, where the moment we got into the ring, he put on full diamond armor, and I still had full iron. And he was like, that was his magnum opus. I asked him if he felt confident about winning, and he said yeah. And my response was to take off all my armor and put on Prot 1 diamond to one-up him. And then the fight was really fun. It went on for a little while, crossbowed a few times, we both pre-gapped, and eventually he died. So yeah, that was a fun session. That is definitely top of A tier. Session 3. Session 3 was a little quirky because I was not home when I recorded it. I was helping someone move. And so I was in this empty, tiny, echoey room with two freaking, like, TV stands and my mouse pad across both of them because it's large, and my laptop on one and my hand on the other. I think I have the photo up right now, probably. So I sounded awful, but I wasn't playing awful. For the most part, I couldn't shoot a crossbow to save my life. But the session kind of started, nothing was happening. I was just running around talking with Yus and Lexi and Enchanted and Raven. And Yus killed Enchanted, and then, like, nothing happened for a while. But eventually, Lexi started lava bucketing Lightstick with the intent of jumping them if they got low, and Lightstick's teammate was there, and he didn't like that. So he jumped Lexi, who was on 1 life, and he was on, like, 2. And so I jumped in, and I accidentally killed him just trying to de-escalate the situation. Directly after I killed them, Raven, like, pulled me aside, and it was talking about I have a deal for you, so that they could jump me, because that was our code word for fighting at the time, because it was a bit from Session 2, where when they quick dropped me, they said, I have a deal for you, I kill you and you die, and we fought, and the fight lasted like 5 minutes, because we were both lagging out, and we would have to let the other heal anytime they lagged out, but the fight went on, and I missed probably 25 crossbow shots, but I was still holding my own. And eventually, I got hit by a paid actor, and then Raven comboed me with an axe, and I died. So that was fun. But directly after that, Yus launched me off a mountain and killed me by accident. So I was red, and the first thing I did was go and get a TNT cannon killed, because of course. After that, Raven and Enchanted both gave me a life, and I dueled Yus again, which I won. And that was kind of the end of the session. I would say that was a bottom B tier session. Next up, What Life Finale. This session I killed Raven a lot. Like 4 times a lot. Me and Yus had a duel kind of midway through session, and he actually won it, which was sick. It was the first duel he won. He had his little play with netherite boots, and then he freaking got me. But I came back as a red name, and I wanted blood. So the first thing I did was jumped Lightstick and Kiara and got a double kill, both with crossbows, which made me very happy because it was like my first legitimate crossbow kills. Lexi rolled Boogie, and then went off and killed Tongs, a player who we had rage baited all season, and sent them to red. And then Raven rolled Boogie and immediately killed Lexi, so both Lexi and Tongs were on red. And Lexi went back to the place where Raven killed them to talk, but Tongs had been rage baited all season by me and Lexi, and tried to final kill Lexi. But me and Raven were talking, like, 10 blocks away, and I heard Lexi yelling, Deluxe, help! And then I jumped down and turned Tongs into ash, and it was fire. After that, we have our final fight, and it's nothing special for a while. Lightstick gets dog hunted by Enchanted and more people, but Enchanted was the only one who got hits in. And then I throw a cart down, and Enchanted just like decides that it's his time to die because he's kind of fulfilled his personal arc, and he lets himself die to that cart. It's top 4, and it's me, Lexi, Yus, who are all working together because we want me and Yus to get top 2, and then it's Raven. So we decide to 3v1 Raven, and Raven keeps lagging out and crashing, so we keep freaking letting them heal so that they can continue fighting. And the Raven final fight probably lasted like 5 minutes of getting 3v1 until eventually Yus killed her with a crossbow. And then now it's top 3, me, Lexi, Yus. But like I said, Lexi is also working towards this top 2 goal, so she knows that she's the next to final die, and decides that she wants me to 1v1 her for the kill. And so we have this very somber 1v1 that is very one-sided because there was an obvious skill gap. But it was still like really sad, and Lexi managed to ender pearl away from me on like 1 heart or something. I had like 1 loaded crossbow still or something, and I fired it from like 50 blocks away and like 20 blocks below her, because she pearled into a mountain, and I get this sick final kill shot, which was just peak. I don't know, it was cinema, it was great, it was a great ending to our teaming as well. So it's just me and Yus left, and we decide to both separate so we can kind of monologue to our audiences while preparing for the final fight. And I pull out firework rockets and put them in my crossbows, because that's been my big play the entire season. So I have that, all like full power 7-star white fireworks in 6 crossbows. And on top of that, I had wind charges that Lexi helped me get as well. I don't know what Yus is planning, but I know that he's probably not going to get the shot off to use it. And we enter the arena, we have our big speech. I say, and now I'm going to show you the true capabilities of a crossbow, or whatever. And then we fight. And he has this literal oh fuck moment when he gets hit with the first firework.
Let's do this.
Oh, fuck.
Because he realizes how over it is. The fight didn't last much longer than that, but it was definitely visually pleasing. Quite literally a fireworks show. And I final killed him with a firework, which was sick. Yeah, so that's What Life. That's the season 4, or that's the finale. Easy S tier. Generic Limited Life, Session 1, F tier. This is just from my perspective. As a whole, it was a C tier session, but I didn't do anything. My entire goal was to lose time so that I could have more interesting later sessions, and I lost a lot of time. Session 2. For the most part, Session 2 was just me miscellaneously killing people so that I wouldn't be super low on time, because I kind of overdid it a little bit. But I had a couple kills that stood out, and I mean, this session isn't good because all I'm basing it off of is the kills. Nothing with story, nothing with fun interactions. The only reason this session isn't like D tier is because I got 3 kills that stood out. I got one where I blind fired 3 crossbows at Boomer and they killed him, which was funny. I got a TNT cannon kill on Kiara, and maybe my favorite non-PvP kill all season. I got a kill on Lightstick where he was building his base and mining trees and stuff, and I climbed into one of the trees, and while we were talking, I snuck a cart onto the final block, and then I jumped off the tree, and 5 seconds later, he died to the cart, and it was so funny. So I'm gonna put this session top of C tier, because I also ranked Hidden Life Session 5 off of kills, basically, and that one was less fun to me. Session 3 of Generic Limited Life. It was like if you gave Session 2 a Mega Mushroom, and then 2 unique plot lines that were sick. It's easily an S tier session. I spent the first majority of the session kind of just miscellaneously killing people. It was still more interesting than Session 2. The kills I got were better, more interesting, more fun, and yeah. I killed Cat with like the most goofy ass sequence of like murder attempts. I killed Enchanted, and it wasn't anything special, but it was funny. I killed Lexi right in front of her entire team, and I dropped her before they could team defense. And then Raven 1v1'd me and I won. But that's just the start of session. Because after I killed Raven, I was green, and we were all on like 5 minutes to yellow or something. And 5 minutes passed, and everybody except for 2 players turned yellow naturally. It was like this horrifying moment for Cat and Mauve, who were the 2 greens, where they realized that they were the only ones left. They decided to 1v1, and Mauve won it. While they were fighting, all of the yellows were slowly inching toward them to steal a kill on whoever won, and I got it. I killed Mauve. And I turned green, and I had my own like little oh shit moment, where I realized that it was now a server v1. And I actually held my own pretty damn well. I mostly had to run, and a lot of the fight was underwater. I managed to drop Yus in the fight. He was already low from fighting another green previously, but it was still sick because I was actively being 4v1'd when I did it. And then eventually I went down. After I went down, I goofed around because I had nothing to do. Everyone was yellow. And a couple of players had this bit where they were going hundreds of blocks in the sky and trying to water bucket clutch. Well, I saw that, and the first thing that popped into my mind was, what if I replaced the area they're trying to clutch on with slabs that look like full blocks because of how they're placed? So I did that, and Boomer decided he was going to do this clip where he threw his water bucket and then jumped and did a 360 while trying to catch it and hit the clutch. He threw it, did the 360, caught the water bucket, hit the clutch, but he landed on a slab, so he died. And then because of this, Enchanted and a couple of other yellows peer pressured the now red Boomer into 1v1ing me, which is where my story really starts. At the last 5 minutes of session, me and Boomer had this 2-minute 1v1, where it was like this really dynamic 1v1, where everything mattered, and it was really cool, really intense, really close, and it culminated in me losing an interaction, but then turning around and comboing Boomer and winning on like half a heart or something. So that was really fun, and like I said, it sparked my story for the rest of the season. Session 4. Below Session 2 C tier. This session, I spent the first half hour getting Wither Skulls for a later plot point, and then I spent the next half hour helping everyone beat the game, and then I spent the next hour trying to die. That's pretty much the sum of it. But because I died a lot in Session 5, I was one of the lowest times, and I started late because I had issues getting to the session. I was on this time scramble, and like half the server was red when I joined, half of it was yellow. So we had this big fight where we were trying to kill all the yellows. And it started out with me hunting down Mauve, because I was trying to find the yellows and pick them off because they were running. And I intercepted them, and I caught Mauve and Kiara off guard, but Kiara got away while I fought Mauve. And we had this like 2-minute water fight that was pretty cool for a water fight. And it ended with me hitting like a really clean aggro pearl that is terrifying from Mauve's perspective, and dropping her. And then we continued the yellow stand. The yellows realized they were playing too carefully and came out into the open, and we had like a big 4v4, which they got shredded in. And then we had another 4v4 directly after it, which they also got shredded in. Mostly because the reds consisted of the 3 best players. Later, I still wasn't satisfied with my time, and so I decided to cart a red name. I tried to kill Zilly, but it instead killed Raven. The rest of the red names who were around me were like, hey, that's not nice, there's still yellows. And they killed me while I was whispering to Raven an apology. And then I came back, because I had my bed set like 10 blocks from where I died, and I jumped Boomer, who got the kill on me. But Boomer was mute most of the season, and he could only talk in typing. And he was actively typing an apology to me because he realized I was typing too late. And I killed him while he was typing. I still lost time. Like, I still didn't gain on the interaction. I was exactly where I started. So I climbed up on top of Lightspace, which is where it all went down, and I placed a rail the wrong direction and then dropped a cart on 3 people. And even though the rail placed in the wrong direction, it still got the triple kill. And then I ran away, I claimed all my time, and I was one of the highest times on the server. But I wasn't done yet. After all of that, I decided now that everyone was red, it was time to use my Wither Skulls. I had a cool little speech, and then I summoned a Wither, which I promptly named Oblivion. Upon bringing the Wither out, with everybody near us, everyone scattered, except me, Boomer, and Raven. I told Raven to lure the Wither into people, and then I jumped Boomer because he wanted to kill it. And me and Boomer had this like big chase scene where eventually, through a bunch of interactions, wins and losses for me that didn't end in either of our deaths, Boomer ran out of food and I got him to die to his own ender pearl. But I didn't notice that he died to his own pearl, so I didn't claim the time until the next session. And then after that, I had a funny little kill on Cat, where she just came over to say hi and I took it personally. But other than that, that's session 5. I want to put it top of A tier. It's not quite S because I don't want to oversaturate S. Because speaking of S, finale, it's going in S tier. By no means is this an S tier session from face value. If you look at everyone's POV of it, it's B tier, maybe like mid A tier at most. But I had a really good perspective of it. I probably had the best perspective of it because I was always doing something. This session started off with me making a deal with Enchanted's team where I would try to help them a little bit because they were on the losing side of a war. And in exchange, they gave me a name tag so I could name my wither. I didn't really help them much. I also lost an hour naming the wither Oblivion. Fast forward a bit, and I'm grinding food, and I'm talking with Mauve and Lexi, and they realize that the wither's at half health. And we go and, like, investigate, and Boomer's 1v1ing it and winning, and I don't want to lose my wither freaking 20 minutes into finale, so I have this sick 1v1 with him where the wither's shooting at both of us, and I'm just crossbow spamming him. And eventually he dies, and it was really cool. And then a little while later again, nothing really happens for a while because everyone's afraid to jump each other. And Enchanted tips me off about where the big teams are because Mauve's team and Enchanted's teams, which are the two big like dogs of the server, aren't fighting because they're both low time. And he says, hey, if you want to get a cart kill, come here. We're here. And after a while, I managed to like get people off guard, and I try to crossbow cart Zilly. But Muffin ran up on Zilly while I was doing the crossbow cart, and Enchanted was like far away from it, but he was low health. So I got a triple cart kill right there and then, and it was awesome, sending me to like 7.5 hours while everyone else was at 4. Then I just kind of chased Boomer around for a little while, because that's what my story was up to this point. It was mostly a rivalry with Boomer. And while I'm doing it, at one point I lose him and I run into Raven. And Raven's bored, so she challenges me to a 1v1, which I won, and I'm happy about that. And then it goes back to hunting Boomer for a while. And nothing really happens. Me and Boomer have a couple interactions. I kill him, he kills me. And eventually we whittle each other down a bit so that I'm on 5 hours and he's on like 30 minutes. Very balanced rivalry, I know. But we decided to have this final 1v1 in the same place that we had our first 1v1. And it actually goes really similar. A lot of the same items were used. It was like the same amount of tension. The fight was just as close, if not closer. And it's this back and forth where Boomer's winning, then I'm winning, then Boomer's winning, then I'm winning. And eventually I get stuck in a full web with my feet exposed. But Boomer doesn't realize that my feet are exposed, and he breaks the top block to try to hit me. But that lets me out of the web, and he doesn't realize that lets me out of the web. So he tried to heal, and I managed to get a crit chain on him, causing him to final die. After that, my story arc is basically completed. I have one more thing that I would like to do before I go out, and I have the most time. So everyone jumps me, but while they were jumping me, Mauve accidentally crit Cat, and then I turned and murked Cat with like 2 axe crits or something while we were all fighting, because I was like just going wild trying to kill whoever I could before I died. And that final kills her, meaning that I got 2 final kills back to back. And I didn't lose any time from the total interaction because while Muffin killed me, I killed Boomer and Cat. But after that, people are upset that I killed Cat. Upset in quotation marks, no one was like salty or anything, but all of us use that as an excuse to kind of bring me to 1 death by server V1s. And I end up on like an hour and 10 minutes or something when I decide that I'm going to start fighting back if they continue server V1ing me, because obviously I don't want to be on 10 minutes. They jumped me again. Mauve, Lexi, and Zilly did. And I fumbled really hard during the fight. I had a couple points where I probably could have dropped them, but I wasn't trying to gain time back too fast, and they eventually dropped me. But I wanted to get time back, and I didn't even have any gear. I had like 2 carts to my name, and I had nothing to properly quick cart with. I didn't have any arrows for a crossbow cart, and I didn't have a KB sword. But I still needed to get a kill, otherwise I was doomed in 10 minutes. So when I came back, I pulled a freaking flint and steel cart out of my ass and killed Zilly with it, which was sick and is one of my favorite clips in the entire finale. Afterward, me and Enchanted decided to team up temporarily because all of his day one teammates are dead, and he doesn't really trust Mufin too much at this point, and we try to hunt Raven down to varying success. Eventually, I die in the chase, but Raven also dies, bringing us both to 1 death. And everyone kind of peer pressures us into 1v1ing because we're the 2 best players still. And so we do that. We have a 1v1 where none of us die, but I almost die. I get to like half a heart or something and escape. And when I escape, I fully heal, reload my crossbows, come back out, and I'm climbing a hill, and in F5 I can see Raven coming toward me while everyone else is distracted with other stuff. And I realize that it's my chance, so I get to the top of the hill, turn around, and machine gun Raven with the crossbows, knock them down the hill, and then manage a frame-perfect fall damage cancel using iframes and Raven critting me. And then eventually, like, win the fight, which was sick. Final killing Raven. And then Enchanted hunts me, and I final die having completed all that I wanted to complete. But, yeah. That's my tier list. And I implore the other generic lifers to make a list similar, though I kind of doubt that anyone will. So yeah, that's it, and goodbye.